closings, but the concern was this agency, this huge office has 90 to 100 agents in it.
Yep.
And he came second for closings. And so it's just like, wow, there's a ton. Number one, congratulations. Number two, it's amazing how many agents are in that office and that do 1 or 2 deals a month.
Well, back to the point that we talked about last week, which was, one of the greatest headaches of being in our industry is working with people who don't understand what it means to be a professional. And let's be really clear about what we define as being a professional. I consider somebody who produces a 6-figure income in real estate somebody who's a professional, which means that they're not living hand to mouth every single month. I'm not talking about gross sales. You could have your name plastered all over every billboard and every shopping cart in the city, but have an end result of a nettable income to your family of less than $100,000, and I don't necessarily think that they're a professional.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I feel like are all ego-based and not truly a referable realtor. Do you guys kind of see that?
Yeah.
So I go back to why it is that I do or did the business the way that I did it, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I've said it before. I never really connected with agents because, frankly, I don't like them and I don't respect them. I know that they're a necessary evil in our industry, but the truth of the matter is that most agents are not really worth wasting your time on, at least in my opinion of the agents that I've had experience with. There's a handful out there that are rock stars, and if we're blessed enough to have 3 to 5 of them in our life, that's truly all you need. But for me, my business model was always primarily focused on my database, my ability to cultivate meaningful relationships with clients who adamantly referred me to their friends and their family and their colleagues because I took them through a process that they were intimidated by, confused by, scared about, and I made it a easier, much more enjoyable process, and I learned how to orchestrate referable moments out of that to get new business from clients that I would much rather get 2 clients referring me 1 person that's their best friend, because I know that client's going to be a closable transaction, and I really only have to have a relationship with that referral source to say thank you and I appreciate you, and recognize that that it takes a lot to get a referral from somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I know that this kind of goes against what Thor's Hammer is all about, and I'm not discounting what Thor's Hammer does. But if you don't market and manage and deal with recruiting out of, or prospecting out of your database, I think you're missing one of the 4 pillars of your business. And I always look at a business model as having 4 legs like a chair. If you take one of those legs away, your other 3 legs have to be pretty strong, correct?
Yep.
So much the same way with realtors, financial planners, CPAs, past clients, current clients, those are all recognizable to me as pillars of your business. So if I'm going to close 120 transactions in a year, and 10 of them are going to come from, let's just say every month I'm going to get 10 transactions, I'm going to say 2 come from my past clients, 2 come from my realtors, 2 come from my financial planners, and the rest come from my CPAs and personal sources of business. And so when I look at my business every year, I know where I want my clientele to come from. And I will tell you that my percentages, it was closer to 60% of my closable business came from my past clients and current client referrals. And that was my choice and the decision that I made with how I wanted my business to look. But that's the clarity that I had. That was the conscious effort to realize that I didn't really invest a lot of time and energy into agents. I invested my time and energy into clients. And I found great success there. People in our industry can find success in a variety of different ways as long as you're clear on what you really are after. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
So you guys can see my screen right now. Does somebody want to read that quote for you?
I can.
All right, go ahead, Mark.
Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, but that most frightens us. Excuse me. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that not other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I want you guys, it hangs in my office. I have this in my office because when it was given to me, it really impacted me to the point where I felt like I finally understood what motivated me. And the reality is that I've never considered myself a good salesperson, but I consider myself a very loyal, a very considerate, and a very dedicated professional friend and family member. The reality for us is that when you try to partner up with somebody, whether it be a realtor or a financial planner or whomever you want to get business from, you have to ask yourself, why are they doing this? Why is it that they're trying to build a relationship with you? What is it that you're going to provide to them? Forget about the mortgages. The mortgages is the ancillary part of the relationship. What value do these people in your life, meaning your referral partners, bring to you? I'd ask you that the next time you're sitting in front of a potential referable source, ask them what it is about them that makes you want to work with them. And don't make it about the client. I can tell you that when I'm with my clients, when I'm belly to belly with the consumer, that's where I feel like I'm the most impactful, because I literally am impacting their life, and I'm changing their life, and I'm changing their belief system, and I'm giving them hope and trust and faith in a system that traditionally is very slimy and very salesy. And when I do that, I'm able to convince them that I'm a great person to put their name and reputation on. How many realtors in your lives right now do you think you can say the same thing about?
That's not many, 2 or 3.
Not many, right?
Yep.
So let's kind of get into what we've been talking about the last 2 weeks. And I know, Ryan, you and I had a conversation the other day. I appreciate you guys sending your lead trackers. Billy, I didn't get one from you, brother. Billy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll send it to you, but I just haven't had a chance to put it together.
No problem, my friend. No problem. So when we look at the lead trackers, I'm looking for current client referrals, and I want this next I want this next month or the remaining part of August to be kind of a training platform. I want to work with you guys on a couple things that I instituted into my practice that helps me kind of set the stage. We all understand how powerful a referral is. We all love getting a referral. Are we in agreement on that? Nobody here gets more joy out of cold calling than they do getting a referral?
Yeah.
I know we laugh about it. We laugh about it, but there are some people out there that just don't understand the concept and have never felt the gratitude of what it means to get a referral. And so what I believe is that the first thing we need to focus on more, number one, again, is our mindset. The mindset of being a referable person is key to this, because if you don't believe that you are a referable person, you're never going to get a referral. Each of you guys are in a relationship with somebody, and you're only in that relationship because you believed you were the best option for your spouse. They didn't come to you and say that you were the best option and made you the best option. You came into that relationship believing that you each were the best option for your spouse. That's why you guys fell in love with each other. And I think it's the same thing with regards to our client relationships. If your client doesn't know if you don't know who you are to your client, how is your client supposed to know who you are? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So, hey, Ryan, let me ask you a question, buddy. Ryan, if I was to sit in front of you as a potential client and ask you directly, why should I work with you? What would be your answer?
I mainly touch on the honesty factor, and I think many people, especially down here in South Florida, already have a certain prejudgment against. Well, they categorize us all as mortgage brokers, so there's already that inclination that they may not be getting, upfront information from us. So I tell them no matter what through the process, I will always be honest and upfront and candid with them throughout the loan process. Even if it means that that we part ways at some point, and kind of do the takeaway even at the very beginning of the conversation. So I do stress in the honesty that they'll receive from me, during the loan process.
So,
and that's normally how I like to start the conversation, just to establish that the trust right away.
Okay, I like it. How do you qualify that statement for somebody after them only meeting you for the first 10 minutes?
Well, normally they were referred by someone that I did a loan. So I will touch on that person that referred them and let them know that this person was extremely happy with my service, and that's why they recommended, you to me.
Okay, so can we all agree that that's primarily how most of our business comes, whether it be from a realtor, a client, a friend? I mean, we all get our business directly from our relationships, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, besides the internet leads that I purchased for that short time.
Right.
Besides that, yes.
So I want to focus on that conversation that you just had, Ryan, because I think that's really the fundamental piece of this entire conversation for the next several weeks. And that is, how do you communicate the value to your clients based on somebody else's referral to you? Does anybody have a specific conversation around that, and what does it sound like?
Say that. What was the? Say that again.
Does anybody have a premeditated conversation that they have in place to help communicate the value of the relationship that brought you two together?
Mine is when asked how they heard from me, or when I find that information out, it's not a canned speech. It's pretty canned, I guess, but it's a lot of the stuff that you had given me before, Doug. That number one, I ask how'd they hear about me,
yep.
And then I ask about the realtor, and then say that you have got a great realtor on your side here. He and I do a lot of work together. He is a great realtor. I don't know how you found him, but he's one of the best out there. And I just keep emphasizing I do a lot of this person's work. We work well together as a team. We're going to take great care of you. So it's along those lines.
Okay, but how do you set the stage for that client who's sitting in front of you to become that next layer of a referable person?
That's something I don't do, and that's some notes I took last week. Is you're talking about these walking, I don't know if it's you, but somebody was talking about these guys should be walking billboards for us, and yeah. I never set that expectation up front like I started doing, with my new lead. And I just had a conversation with a borrower, a current client, just this morning, and my conversation after I answered her question, I said, hey, Shelly, I'm looking to always grow my business with people just like you. I enjoy working with you. Who do you know that is in your office, or family or friends that I can help? I'm going to do a better job of coming up with that script the initial time we talk with them, or the initial time we meet with them, of letting them know, hey, I survive based on referrals, not by advertising that I do. So that's something I'm working on just from our conversations the last couple of weeks.
Can I give you a little piece of advice about how and what you just said?
Absolutely.
I would advise this. I love the fact that you turn it back around to the client after you've set this tone for the fact that you were brought to me as a referral. I want you to know that my job is to make it so that you feel so compelled to want to refer me that not only will you go back to the person that referred you and say thank you, but you're eventually going to turn into that referable person or that referring source that I'll have a chance to work with somebody else in your life that you know. But I would also recommend that in that conversation, you're not so vague about the request. You need to be a little bit more specific. Our brains are not filing cabinets, they're processors. So the more specific of a question that you can ask, the greater the chance that you're going to get the result that you're seeking. So for me, the request is, hey, Mark, can you do me a favor? Throughout the process, I know that you're going to talk to somebody about the home that you're buying, and as you should. I think it's an awesome home. I'm excited for you, and I know you're going to be excited. I know that you're going to be talking to one of your colleagues at work or one of your friends, and I'm sure at some point they're going to ask you who your lender is. Can you just do this for me? Can you just make a note to make sure you tell them who your lender is? And then, if possible, please pass their name and number on to me. I would love a chance to figure out if I can help them out in any way, shape, or form, because I would love a chance for them to come back to you to say thank you. Is that dialogued a little bit more orchestrated than what you said?
Absolutely. I'm typing as fast as I can to get all that down.
Nope, I'm with you. And like I said to Ryan the other day, please call me if during the session we go too fast and you need more information. But the point of the matter is that we have to capitalize on the opportunity that our relationships have given us. Meaning that every time you guys meet with a client, you have to have a script, much the way that Mark had it in there, before you even talking about mortgages, before you get into rates, fees, costs. You got to set the tone of who you are. They have to know what you're about, where you come from, why you say the things that you say, in order for them to trust you, believe you, and have faith that you're going to help them accomplish their goals and their needs. So I love the fact that, Mark, you're talking about this in the very beginning, but I want you to take it a step farther and turn them into the person that's going to be then put up on stage. They recognize the value of the referral. They're meeting with you because they value the relationship that you have in common with that referral source. So make them understand that your job isn't just to get them a mortgage. And this is where the piece of it that I want you guys to really take a note of. We have to give our clients what's called the permission to reject. It builds credibility, it builds approachability, and it builds trust with our clients. And let me explain this in greater detail. There's always a question that our clients have in the back of their mind, whether it's spoken or unspoken, and it really boils down to this statement: do I want to work with you? And if I don't, what happens? When you're able to, and some of you guys have heard me say this before, if your spouse walks into the room and she has to ask you, how does she look? Is that evoking the same feeling as if she walked into the room and you said, wow, you look great? Which one do you think has a greater impact?
Yeah, the second one.
Definitely.
Why does the second one, hey Ryan, why does the second one have a bigger impact on your wife's ego?
Because it wasn't scripted. She didn't have to ask.
She didn't have to ask.
Voluntarily.
How does that make you look to her?
Like a stud.
Yeah, like you noticed, like you're paying attention, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
She feels a tremendous amount of value because you validated something that she was already thinking that she didn't have to ask for.
Right.
It's the same thing with our clients. Anytime we have the ability of extracting a question out of their head before they ever ask it, do you think that it builds another layer of credibility and approachability?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys all think that that question at some point in your dialogue with your client comes up in their head?
Sure, every time.
Every time. So my script around that is really simple. I give my clients the permission to reject me. I basically pull an M&M. I basically pull out the M&M mentality from the movie 8 Mile and say, listen, I understand that I may not be the best person for the job for you. I've already established with you that it's okay that if we don't do business together, it's okay. I want to earn your business. I just realized not everyone is perfect for my business, and you know that not everybody is perfect to help you accomplish your goal. I want you to be clear that all I want from this conversation is to have you be so thrilled and happy with what I say that you go back to the referral source and say thank you, irregardless. if we do business with each other or not. Is that fair? Tell me what you think the reaction from your clients would be if you were able to articulate that to them before you started talking about numbers and rates and fees and costs.
Yeah, that builds character and establishes trust right from the get-go. I think that's fantastic to do. I've never approached it that way personally.
Why would you believe that that does that? What do you think that? I want you to give me a little bit more detail because I want you to be able to explain to me the message that I'm trying to get across. What does that do for your borrower when you address that?
It takes away the fear that they might have in their head that you're dishonest or going to give them bait and switch them, or you know, a number of different things that may be running through their heads of, you know, why this transaction, you know, may go wrong, or you may be an immoral, you know, broker.
Well, and let me see if I can say it in slightly a different fashion. You're basically telling them that you want to earn their business, you just don't need it.
Right.
And when we come from a position of want as opposed to need, do we come across as being more interested in our clients' goals and expectations as opposed to ours?
Sure. Yeah, you don't sound desperate.
Well, yeah, but more importantly, you said it best, Ryan. You build credibility and trust with the client. They don't see you as having to sell them something. Do you get that? Once you communicate that to somebody and you convey the want versus need mindset, you no longer become a salesman to them. You become a teacher. You become a consultant. You're able to differentiate yourself to your client through their own eyes by addressing a fear and a question that they've already been thinking about but aren't ever probably going to ask. And much like the analogy with your spouse walking into the room, you've now given yourself a tremendous amount of credibility because you're addressing a psychological need that they have before they ever bring it up. You've squashed that one piece of their fear that makes them feel closer and more connected to you. That's the part of it that's so powerful, because before you even start talking about fees and rates, you've now started to differentiate yourself from somebody that really means what they say. You're painting a picture for them emotionally that you're capable of recognizing what their goals and their wants and their needs are. You've all bought things from people that you've had to spell out for them in order for them to help you get it. But we've probably all run into that one salesperson or one person in our life that basically knew exactly what we were searching for and was able to help guide us through the process. I'll tell you, when I went to Home Depot this past weekend, I'm building a hanging bed for my daughter. And a hanging bed basically is attached to the two corners of a wall with a chain hanging on one of the corners to the ceiling in what's called a dead man. Well, I walked in there with a picture, and the guy walked up to me and said, "How can I help you?" And I said, "Well, here's what I'm trying to do." And he goes, "You know what, buddy? I know exactly what you're doing." He literally walked me through the store. I didn't have to ask him anything, and he gave me all the details of exactly what I was looking for, down to the chain and the way to mount it in between the rafters in the attic. I'll tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but that's badass. Do you think I questioned whether or not he was giving me the cheapest product or if he was giving me the best product? No. Without question, I bought whatever he gave me because I felt like he knew what I wanted. Our clients are willing to pay for those things. They're willing to pay a premium if you show up and be bigger and better than what everybody else is. And it starts with simple conversations in the very beginning, much the way that, Mark, you're starting to try. But I would basically tell you to do what you've done, but then turn it around and make them and position them to be the next evolution of your referable business, and that you're going to count on them and expect them to refer you, because that's why your business is built the way that it's built.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and the reason that it's so important to do this in the very beginning, does anybody have an idea of why we want to establish this kind of a tone before we start talking about anything else?
Well, yeah, because you establish
you're going to numbers when you get to that.
What's that?
It's going to make it a heck of a lot easier to go over the numbers when you get to that.
Right.
You know, they're going to be less likely to bulk over rate and your lender costs, things of that nature, if that trust is already there, and they also know that you don't necessarily need their business.
Right. It's kind of like you only get one chance to make a first impression. You only get one chance to frame your business the way that you want it to prevent them from pigeonholing you into their perception of what you do and how you do it. Because everybody shows up with expectations. Everybody goes into every situation at least having some experience or insight or some static from somebody else who's gone through it. So it's up to us to reframe that entire picture. So I think I've shared with you that before. When a client walked into my office and sat down, very rarely did I ever let them pull out their papers. They would whip out their tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs. I mean, I would literally tell them to stop and to put it away. I didn't even let them set it on the table. And then the way that I did it through nonverbal communication was how I engaged with them, how I looked at them, which eye I looked at, how I shook their hand, how I mimicked their gestures. And it was all done as a means to be able to create rapport. Rapport is what you get when you're in sync with somebody. Rapport is what you get when you feel like you're connected. And the art of being able to avoid being treated like a commodity is to establish the rapport with the client. We've all bought things and used things in our life that could be bought and found cheaper, quicker, and more inexpensively. But for some reason, we've chosen to use that product at the time or the service at that time, and it's largely due to the fact of how we feel at the moment. Our clients don't know anything. They come to you with a perception, but they don't really know. And so the purpose of setting the stage in the very beginning is because they're coming to your theater. They're coming to your stage. You're the director of this show. Don't let anybody else's experiences dictate how you direct your own show. So being able to set the stage from the very moment they pick up the phone and call you to the moment that they close is so vitally important.
Doug, how would you recommend, I mean, I don't know what cities these other guys are working in, but obviously, you know, meeting face-to-face is ideal. But we live in such big cities and we call in such big areas. What would you suggest on how do we do that over the phone? I mean, I know we should meet everybody face-to-face, but a lot of times that's just not possible. And people
can I add
nowadays
something to that right there?
want to meet with you face-to-face.
Please.
I never meet my clients at all. I hardly ever have anybody come to my office. I don't sit belly to belly with people. I do everything over the computer, over the phone, over the fax. I don't really meet anybody till closing. And by doing that, to set up that phone call, it's a total different than having somebody sit across from you. You know, and that initial phone call is the most important part of the whole transaction. And like you're talking about, Doug, it's not about the rate, it's not about the payment. And what I tell clients are, you know, rates are rates, you know, closing costs are closing costs. The difference they're going to separate you is who you can trust and who you can like to be, who you get along with, who you trust. And I just really work on building that trust and befriending the person before we even get into the mortgages or any of that stuff. And I tell you, it's an easier process. Once they start to become comfortable with you and you've decided that that's somebody that you want to work with and they want to work with you, or they feel like they're going to come aboard with you, the rates, the payments, and the paperwork, nothing. They don't even go over it. They don't scoff at it because they trust you.
Right.
And I never meet any of my clients.
Right. I will tell you that I have not had tremendous success without meeting my clients face to face. And the reason I did that was because of the way that my business model was created. I created a mindset that I had to be belly to belly with people. However, I know a great number of LOs that are highly successful without meeting their clients. The largest attribute that you have to have is being able to articulate and use tone on how you're conveying your value to them. It's a lot easier, we all are in agreement, it's a lot easier to build trust in a relationship with somebody when you're belly to belly and you get to shake somebody's hand and look them square in the eye and see how they act around you. It's not impossible, I just think it's harder. So I think, Mark, your greatest asset in those situations is to spend more time on the initial consultation, getting to the point where all you're looking for is enough information to pull credit, but most of the conversation that you should be having with them is really developing a rapport with them, finding something in common, and then using that to tie it back to the referral source, and then leveraging the relationship at that time about the why you're doing it this way.
Yeah.
And that leads me into the next point, the why you guys are doing this. The why you want your business to be built on referrals has nothing to do with referrals. The why we do this is because we know that in order for us to go home and to be the husband and the father that we need to be, we can't expel all of our energy trying to convince people that we're the best option for them. We would rather have other people convince them and let us simply just fill their shoes, so that when we go home, we have the energy and the mind and the time to be able to be that father and that husband that everybody in our personal life wants us to be. At least that's my why. And in my back of my head, every time I met with a client, that was the mission behind my business. I didn't want to come home beat and exhausted and worried about my business because I wasn't sure where it was going to come from and whether or not people liked me. That was the underlying theme of everything that I built my decision making around. And I think it holds true to a lot of people, especially to you three. You all want to be more than you are when you go home. We all would like to have more time and more energy and more passion and more, whatever, to our families. The point is that if we're out there having to sell ourselves to people, we're wasting time competing on good faith. We're wasting time competing on fees. We're wasting time competing on rate. We're wasting time trying to tell these people that you are of value. When you get a client who wants to work with you, that is the best way to avoid having to go down that other road. And that is to convince them through your communication and through the words that you articulate to them, people, I want you guys to do me a favor. I promise to deliver on everything that you guys are expecting of me, because that's why I'm agreeing to take you on as clients. But I need something in return. My business is predicated on relationships, much the same way, Mark, that you're going to go back to Ryan and say, thank you for putting us together. I need you to commit to me that you're going to do the same thing for me. Not only do I want you to go back to Ryan and say thank you, but I need you to tell somebody about me. I don't want you to keep me a secret. You know the value that I'm giving you today because of what we're talking about and how we're talking about it and the time that I'm investing to help you understand the process and, eliminate some of your fears. And I will show you in a little bit more about what it is that I actually do for you through the process so that you can recognize that how much time I dedicate to just you. But in order for me to do that, I have to know that you're out there advocating my business. Is that something that you can agree to do? I've never had a person say no. And more times than not, I get the, wow, that is so refreshing to hear. Man, I totally get that. Oh, I love the way that your business is built. I will definitely go tell Ryan. That's the feedback that I get. My question is, if you could take what I just said and turn it into your own words, do you think that that would have a positive impact on how your clients viewed you before you even started talking about loans?
Yeah.
Do you think your client will leave that appointment and be an advocate of your business if you continue to do what you say?
Absolutely. Hell, I want to buy something from you, and I don't even need a mortgage right now.
Ryan, does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep. It sure does.
What did you hear when I said that? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear what I just said?
Well, you're telling people, Doug, how your business is based, and unfortunately, all of my clients have no idea that I'm 100% referral based. They know that I do good work and that I'm going to take care of them, but none of them know that I expect or would like a referral from them. And so my mentality up to these conversations was just do a really good job, and that person will tell their family and friends, and that does happen, but that's like 1 out of 20 clients that actually do that. You're telling them right up front how your business is built and what you expect from them as well, which I like. And hearing you talk, though, I would have to get over that fear of telling that person that that I am, I'm going to take you on, but you have to do this. So, and you have to word that correctly and use the correct tone to do that without them becoming offended. So, I would have to work the verbiage.
Well, why would, if we are coming from a place of want and not need, how would that come across any other way than honest and genuine?
Yeah, you're right.
And that's what I truly want you to realize, why the mindset is so vital. It's so vital that you understand that when you're communicating this, when you're speaking from the heart, and you truly mean that, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Client, I want to take you on as clients. I want to help you accomplish your goals. But we have to be clear that we both have the permission to decide that we're not a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to know that it is okay for you guys, after we're done with our meeting today, to tell me that we're not a good fit. Because as much as you guys are interviewing me, again, that statement in and of itself is a fear that they have in the back of their mind. There's a question that's lingering that pertains to that. And by you saying that, it pulls it out, puts it on the table, and it makes them feel more comfortable.
Yes. And Doug, I would venture to say that after you had that conversation, how many times have someone said that we're not a good fit? I would probably say seldom, if at all.
If at all.
Yeah. Because
the purpose of the message isn't about them saying no. The purpose of the message isn't them saying no to me at all. It's really there to say, you guys, I'm giving you guys all the control. I'm giving you guys all the control to make the decision here. Not me, which means I'm not going to sell you. But it also gives me a chance to really leverage that relationship, because now that they feel like they're in control, when I ask them for something, it's coming from a place of, I don't want to say subserviency, but I'm asking them a favor because they feel like they're indebted to me. Because I've now conveyed and created a stage where they feel, and I keep saying that, where they feel that I'm not like anybody else they would ever run into. It's all about orchestrating an emotional feeling when they leave, or before you open up the pages of the good faith and the 1003. The more that you can convince people that you are the right person, and let's be clear, the way to convey that is by evoking emotion, and the scripts and the tools that I'm giving you all are achieved within the first 15 minutes of your conversations. And that's them getting to know you and you getting to know them. So obviously the permission to reject, I feel like, is an imperative part of the process, because I think it's one of those unspoken conversations that nobody ever has, and it makes people feel uncomfortable when they leave. And 9 times out of 10, I would tell you that most people trust you because of who you are. But I'm teaching you guys how to create and orchestrate opportunities. I want you guys to realize, by having these kind of conversations with your clients, it allows you to open up the dialogue about being a referable business and expecting your clients to refer you. And I'm not saying that you're not going to work with them because they're not going to refer you. We have to go back to, again, 30% of your business that you get every month will refer you. So it's not like everybody's going to refer you, at least not during the process. I'm getting clients referring me still that I haven't talked to since 2009. I got a call yesterday. Her name was Melissa Maglio. She said, Kyle Yanez, who works over at New Concepts, which is a tier 2 manufacturer in the automotive industry, we were having drinks last night, and he said that you are the best person to talk to because you took really good care of them and that your business is relationship-based. I haven't talked to Kyle and his wife since 2009. So I'm telling you that this stuff is truly impactful, and it truly will transform the way your clients and you work together, and how they help you with your business. And so here's the next part, if we want to get into that. Or is what we've covered enough today, or do you guys want to take on one more piece?
No, let's go.
All right, this one's going to be a little bit shorter, and it's not really that significant of what we just got out of. It kind of rides on the heels of it. When the people have agreed that they would like to do business with you and that they agree that you need them to refer, it's okay to let them know that they still have choices to make on whether or not you're still the best and viable option. For example, let's just say you have a client who still doesn't really get it. Like you have a client that sees you, but you can tell there's still not that clarity that they really value. So one of the other steps or one of the other tools that I use is the option script. And for me is, I always tell my clients, listen, after we go through this process and after we do our consultation, I want you to know that you still have 4 options in front of you. You can choose to do nothing. You know, obviously you can choose not to buy a house or choose not to refinance, and that's okay with me. You also have the choice to go down the path of working on the internet. You can go out there and find a company that posts an interest rate that's far better than anything you've ever seen before, and that's an option too. But we obviously know enough about the internet that you'd want to be extremely cautious about that. The other one is you can go down the street and find somebody at a traditional bank like a PNC or a Wells Fargo or a Citibank or a Chase and work with somebody like that as well. Those people are probably capable of closing your loan, but the process of the way they do business is slightly different because they're kind of a volume-based shop. Or you can choose to work with somebody who builds their business through relationships and values the relationships that they have, so much so that they count on their clients to refer them. And by that point in the conversation, I already know without question that when they leave my office, there's no way they're shopping me. That make sense? Why do you think giving people options and really telling them that they have a choice to go someplace else is significant?
What's that fear close? It's letting you know that you're not desperate, and you don't need their business as much, and you're, like you're saying, you're setting it up to where you want to see if it's a good fit for you.
Well, I agree, yes, but I go back to another statement. It's a question that they have in their head. You don't for a minute think that at any point in time these people don't think that they could go to another shop, they could do nothing, they could go with a traditional bank, they could go on the internet. Again, by bringing it up, by addressing the white elephant in the room, do you not think that you're creating significantly greater credibility, more trustworthiness, and more value?
Yeah, because you're being open and honest about it. You're pointing it out.
But more importantly, it's not even open and honest. You're in their head at this point. You're in their head. Have any of you guys ever experienced that analogy that I gave you when I went into Home Depot this past weekend?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You know how it feels when somebody's in your head, right? And as long as they're not malicious or they're not manipulative, you know how it feels when somebody knows what you're thinking. It feels really darn good, doesn't it?
It does.
So those two statements of A, permission to reject, and B, you have options, makes you look like you're a true consultant. When you address both of those conversations to your clients in the very beginning, you are effectively setting a stage for your credibility and your ability to ask for help. You're making deposits into these people's lives in a very short period of time, and you haven't even done anything for them. And I promise you, at the highest level, they crave it, they need it, and they are so appreciative when you give it to them. I would challenge you guys that the next conversation that you have with a new client or a new lead, that you focus on those two conversations in some way, shape, or form before you get into numbers, and tell me what you feel happens with your clients, whether they're face-to-face or on the phone with you. I would love to hear the feedback next week about what happens with those dialogues. Whether they do a mortgage with you or not is not the point. It's how do you feel the client perception of you is changed. This is the #1 responsibility to anybody that wants to build a business based on relationships beyond being a referable person. I don't have to get into the details of why it's important to have the right mindset. I think you guys all understand that. But the tools that I'm giving you, the scripts, really are accomplished within the first 5 to 15 minutes of your client consultations, either on the phone or face-to-face. And in order to ask, in order to orchestrate, in order to provide value, these 2 conversation pieces, if implemented into your business consistently and done in a way that fits your persona, I promise you that your clients will see you differently and they will react to you differently when you ask them for help. You guys all agree with that?
I do.
Do you truly agree with it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's it's just putting it in your own words. That's and just practicing it really over and over again. So when you do say it the first time to a true client, then it doesn't sound like you're reading off of a script somewhere. So
absolutely, and come from a place of humility. You don't have to be perfect at it.
Yeah.
There was a movie that was out that I saw this past week. It was When the Game Stands Tall. You guys ever seen that movie?
No.
It's the story about the De La Salle high school football team that had 159 game winning streak that was broke, and the team had to come together. And this coach, who still coaches there today.
I did see that. I remember that now that you're saying that.
Yep. The coach would say, "I don't expect perfection. I just expect perfect effort." The reason that I want you guys to use this on your clients isn't because I'm expecting you to see immediate results. I'm expecting that you use it in your dialogue with your clients because I promise you it'll begin to help you shift the way that you view your business and be able to value yourself more than just a loan officer to your clients, because your clients are going to see you as more than just a loan officer. So my challenge to you this week is to have this conversation with every new lead that comes in before you talk about mortgages. And whether you stumble across it, whether you stumble through it or not, the goal is to have the conversation. The goal is to simply tell them that it's okay that you might not be the right person. And it's okay that you realize that they have options. And that you want them to know that at any point in time, they're free to make that decision of whether we're a good fit or if another option is a good fit. And if you have that within the first 15 minutes of your conversations with your clients, and then you get into what you normally do, I promise you, you'll see a dramatic impact on how your clients look at you. Because they'll know where your voice is coming from. They'll know where your mind is at, and they'll understand that your heart is about helping them and not selling them, which is the true mindset of what I call a super servant as opposed to a superstar.
That's pretty
So,
good.
hey, Doug.
Yeah.
I'm a new caller, and I know you've gone through it before. I'm a new caller. I'm calling you as a loan officer. Mr. Doug, I was referred to you by XYZ agent, and I'm calling two or three other lenders. Let's see if I can get who's going to give me the best deal.
Right.
She told me to give you a call. So what just kind of walk me through your script there. What would that be? And I just want to hear it again because I know I've heard it.
No problem.
I want to hear it one more time.
Hey, Mark. Hey, man. It's awesome to hear from you, buddy. Thanks for calling. Hey, so you were referred by Phil and Bev Anderley. How do you know Phil and Bev?
We're just personal friends.
you know what's funny is every one of Phil and Bev's clients that I get referred to always says the same thing, that they're personal friends. And it feels like Phil and Bev treat every one of their clients like a personal friend. You know, when I did, you know, I've worked with them now for going on almost 12 years, and it's amazing because I feel like I'm personal friends with them as well. I've been out to their house, we've eaten dinner together, we've even gone to the shooting range and shot guns together. Aren't they the coolest people ever?
Yeah, super nice to get along with.
Right, right. And you know what's funny is that because of my relationship with them, when they refer me, they know that when they endorse me to their clients, they know exactly what they can expect on how a mortgage should go so they can help better negotiate the contract with the seller, because the biggest problem with our industry right now, Mark, is that a lot of people make promises and set expectations that aren't realistic. And the hard part with us is that it's always nice to know that when you're talking about real estate, that you know who are in the corners. You know, it's like going into a prize fight in the ring and not having anybody in your corner. Well, you've got two people in your corner right now that are exactly the right people to help you go and knock that sale out of the park for you, because we've worked together for so many years. We kind of know what the other person is thinking. So without question, we can deliver a process and a product that'll be unmatched by anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I'd like to do first before we get into any of this stuff regarding mortgages is really something very simple. I think it's imperative that you know who I am. And the best way for me to do that is to really schedule an appointment with you, because a lot of the things that we have to talk about require a lot of detailed conversation, and I don't want to mince words, and I don't want you to get the wrong impression. Are you able to meet with me sometime in the next 24 hours and we can spend 45 minutes together to see if we're a good fit?
Sure, but it's going to be a little tough for me to get together with you face to face. Can we do it over the phone?
You know what? I found that if I don't meet with you face to face, I can still accomplish the goal. The problem is it's just going to be a little bit bumpier. So why don't we start off with some basic information first? Can you give me your email address? I'm going to send you an outline of some basic information to fill out so I can pull your credit. The first thing I have to figure out is whether or not I'm giving you information that's truly accurate or if I'm just guessing. And because my business is built on relationships, I can't guess at the stuff that you're asking me to do, because then I'm really not giving you the value of what you're calling me for.
Okay. Okay.
So when we're able to do that, then I can call you back. I'll have your credit score in front of me, and we'll be able to have a much more detailed conversation about that. Is that fair?
Sure.
Awesome. So the point of that conversation that I had was, A, to develop the rapport that I have with Phil and Bev Anderly and you, to make that connection. But more importantly, I'm not going to sit on the phone and talk to you about rates and fees because you told me that you're trying to seek out the best deal. I'm trying to take you as far away from that conversation as possible. So the first step is, if I can get your email back with all that detailed information, then I can easily pick up the phone and have a conversation with you about your credit score, and then we can start talking about specifics. But before I do that, I go back into the why I do things, and that's where it becomes a little bit difficult, because when you call somebody and they're at work, they're not really engaged in the conversation. When you call them at home, they may not be engaged in the conversation. And so I'm always very skeptical on my side of the table that if I'm talking to them and they're at work or they're at home, I may not be getting their undivided attention, and it makes it a little bit harder to develop that rapport that requires me to have in order not to be treated like a commodity.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not easy, but if the value is there, meaning if it's a $300,000 mortgage, Mark, man, I don't care if I have to drive to meet you at your house. I will.
Okay.
But again, you make a valid point. Texas is so big, and you guys cover such a large geographical area. Sometimes it's impossible, and that's where the art of really leveraging that referral to the referral source is so powerful, especially if they pick up the phone and they're trying to find the best deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I try my best to pull them away from that conversation, because there are so many other questions that have to be answered before you can start talking rates and fees and costs. And I would hope that by the time we're into the rates, fees, and costs, I've had enough conversations and have found enough connections to build a rapport with this guy, whether he's into cars, whether that he goes to my church, whether they're into guns. I mean, there's a laundry list of things. And traditionally, the Phil and Bev relationship, they all have had a relationship with Phil and Bev long enough because they're all like the kids of the people that Phil and Bev bought and sold homes with first, like it's their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And it just becomes an easy conversation. And when they talk about deals, I take a look at it and say they're shopping me on deals, but they don't know what a deal is yet. They don't know what's good and bad.
Well,
Does that
that's
help?
good stuff, and I kind of put a timer on you, and you really do all of that in a minute and a half or two. So you take the walls down for these people in a very short period of time. It's just like I said earlier, coming up with not our own script, but our own way of saying what you're saying.
Correct. Because we have the ability of framing every conversation the way that we want it. Every time somebody brought up the issue of rate and cost when they first picked up the phone, I went at them with the mindset of, I'm not a commodity. You're asking me what my commodity is, and I'm not. And so my first inclination is to try to find a connection with you. And some people, let's be honest, they're not connectable. Some people are just never going to be that kind of a person, and you have to decide at that moment whether or not you want to be that person, or if you just want to simply say, you know what, Mr. Zachary, I appreciate the phone call, and I would love to help you out. But unfortunately, the way that I do my business, I don't really send out good face to people, because that's just not the way that my business is built, because I understand what people do when they produce a good faith. And so for me, I'd much rather tell my clients to do this and see if this makes sense for you. Why don't you go out there and look at the 3 or 4 clients or 3 or 4 companies that you could, get loans through, get written good faith from each of them, and then please give me a call and we'll meet face to face. And then I will take the time to go over them and tell you if you are getting the best deal or not. As soon as I hang up that phone call, who do you think I'm calling? Mark, I'm calling the agent. And why do you think I'm calling the agent?
Let them know what's going on.
Well, I'm calling the agent because I want to leverage my realtor's relationship with that client to let the agent know that he's shopping me against, and so that they can pick up the phone and be like, listen, Mark, you know what? You can go shop at Quicken and at Flagstar and at Bank of America. That's great, buddy. But the reality is that we've had experiences with all those companies, and they suck. And if you want to have an easy, smooth transaction, we've had a flawless record with Doug and his team. There really isn't a debate. So I'm calling on the leverage of the relationship, no different than I call on the leverage of the client relationship for another client. That's power. That's not about being a commodity. That's about finding a realtor that understands your value and also can help you navigate those few clients that are just pain in the asses.
Yeah.
And being okay with, I'm not a good fit.
Right. Okay. Thanks for going back through that.
Did that help?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to work on my scripts and just repeat it over and over, and so it sounds like me talking.
Well, just know that when you go to your client appointments, have a check mark, have 2, 3 little items that you want to cover, and be honest with people. Tell them the truth about what has happened in your business. You've had an epiphany. You realize that your relationships mean more to you than anything, and that all I care about is making sure you realize how valuable I consider you to be in my business and how important the person who referred you is. And then just be honest with them with those words and what, those 3 topics, the permission to reject, you have the options, and, the why you're doing this. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be rehearsed. It just has to be genuine.
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
Gentlemen, was this helpful today?
Very much.
Tell me one thing that you got away from this call today, Ryan.
The thing that has kept me from having this conversation more, Doug, is really not the pride thing. I think I might have mentioned this to you. It's more of the fear of not being maybe to articulate it as best as you could. And so, as I've gone through this, the one thing that I've really taken away is I don't have to do this perfect. I just have to start doing it. And as I do it, I will get more and more better at saying it to my clients and being able to convey it just as you are.
Correct.
So, and it works. This is how you slowly built your business. You weren't going after realtors as me, Mark, and Billy have been doing. So I'm a firm believer, what one man can do, so can another. So it's not a question as if it works.
Yeah, the difference is for me is that I never looked at the realtor as being a significant pillar of my business.
Mm-hmm.
I never looked at a realtor as somebody that I can learn from. Every agent that I've ever worked with can learn something from me.
Right.
And the truth is that when I choose to work with my clients and get them to refer, man, that means I've made a significant impact in their life. And they're not expecting me to refer them. They're doing it out of a compelling need to want to say thank you to me.
Mm.
Man, what better compliment is there?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, that's all I got for today. Next week, we'll get into the what I do for you and how to orchestrate referable moments once you've set the stage with your clients in the beginning so that you can help navigate the loan process and its unpredictability and still have a strong relationship of a referable person on your hands.
Very good.
Sounds good,
Thanks
man.
for your time.
Awesome, guys. Hey, each of you guys, do me a favor. When you're talking to any other LO and any of the other, any of our, whether it's at our company or another company, buddy, if you feel like they could get value out of this, I'd love to talk to them too. But more importantly, just don't keep me a secret. If you think what I'm doing is helping you guys and you guys run into an LO that could use the same kind of coaching, and pass them along, man. That's what I crave.
No, I love it. You just gave a referable moment right now.
I orchestrated it. I orchestrated it. Do you see how easy it is when you bring value to somebody?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks,
Doug.
Doug.
Take care, Mark.
See you guys. Peace out.
See you.
See you guys.
Bye.